Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Instagram Live. People are starting to show up. I got a better angle. Got some lighting. We got two great guests for you today, and I just want to start and say that it's an honor to be here on behalf of our team. My name is Jamie Tworkowski. I am the founder of To Write Love on Her Arms. And we will be joined today by Chris Sullivan from the show This Is Us. He will be joining me in just a few minutes. And then later on, we will have Morgan Harper Nichols, Instagram superhero, force for good, artist, poet, mother, wife. So we're excited to spend the next little while with you. Obviously, the reason we are doing this is because it's a really hard moment. It's a really hard season for so many people in so many places, not just in the United States, but around the world. We know that people are dealing with a lot of different things. Obviously, people are sick. People have lost their lives. So there are families and individuals dealing with grief. We know that a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are dealing with anxiety. And something I mentioned in the blog I wrote recently, life was hard enough for so many people 3 weeks ago or a month ago. So we know that for a lot of people, you're dealing with recovery. Maybe that's a road you've been walking for a while. Maybe you've been struggling with depression. And we know for so many people, life is just harder than it was, maybe harder than it's ever been. It's important to mention we want to acknowledge that a lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are just thinking about meeting basic needs. How will I pay rent? When can I go back to work? How will I take care of my family? People are concerned about loved ones, grandparents, parents. So we want to show up for you, and I get to show up for you on behalf of our amazing staff, interns, former interns, this community of people who make up To Write Love on Her Arms. And we have some incredible friends, Chris and Morgan being two of those, and so it's a really cool thing that we can invite some friends to show up as well. And want to point you to our website, TWLOHA.com. We've created a Fear Won't Win landing page. We can connect you to mental health resources. It's become really a self-care hub. So you'll get suggestions for ways to practice self-care even in this limited time. We know that so many things have been canceled, but we want to say that hope will not be canceled. Help will not be canceled. If you're struggling and you need to talk to a mental health professional, that's still an option. Even in this unique time when so many businesses are closed, we know that there are still people doing this work of helping folks navigate mental health, sobriety. So we want to encourage you to know that you can still reach out for help. We talk all the time about our friends at Crisis Text Line. So anyone in the US, Canada, or the UK, you can reach out 24 hours a day to Crisis Text Line. Here in the US, it's 741-741, and you will receive a response from a trained crisis counselor. So if you ever find yourself in a hopeless moment, we love this community that is available around the clock to show up for you and to respond with hope, with encouragement, and to help you make a plan. And with that, I'm going to bring on one of my favorite people, a guy that has become a really dear friend in recent years. You may know him as Toby on the show This Is Us. I call him Chris. So let me look for Chris Sullivan. Chris, this is your moment. I see the thumbs up. I believe you need to request to join me. Yes. Oh, wait. Okay, we got you.
To join you, bro.
We did it. My man.
My man, I can't get my sweet sweatshirt in the shot.
I'm sorry. Hey, buddy, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I didn't even have to invite you. You pitched this idea to me. That's how good of a guy you are.
This is our relationship. I've been chasing you around for over a decade,
That is,
trying to
it
get
is
you to
true.
conclude me in things, and here we are.
Here we are. What was my mom's quote? Chris Sullivan is a nice friend.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, he says thanks. Man, how are you doing? How are you holding up? What do these days
We're
look
doing
like for you?
we are doing just fine. I'm looking at two sleeping pups. Rachel is in the other room. She's about 21 weeks into our first pregnancy. We have our first child on the way, a little baby boy coming in July. Right now we have enough food and shelter and means to be comfortable. So we're very grateful, and we're staying healthy and active and involved in our therapy and staying connected with our friends and family and our neighbors and all those things. So we're good.
Nice, man. Um, what does we talked a little bit earlier, but I wonder if you could talk about what does being healthy, maybe specifically what does self-care look like in this time for you?
You know, you know what? The first day, Rachel and I said we need to set aside an hour each for exercise. First thing, like every day, if we can, yoga, whatever it is, an hour of sit-ups, jumping around like an idiot, whatever it is, we need to keep moving. We need to keep active, keep our bodies healthy. So our bodies are taken care of. We need to eat well, which minus the dozen Pringles I just had, we're doing okay at. Um, we've continued with our therapy, individual therapy, couples therapy, to keep our minds right. And so we're staying attentive to every aspect of our life. We're staying connected to people. Neighbors, friends, doing a lot of Zoom calls and FaceTime calls, and taking care of playing music, being creative, taking an opportunity to be just as creative as possible, and enjoying the time together, honestly,
Hmm.
because it's taken a worldwide pandemic for us to ironically slow down and sit down and look each other in the eye and express our gratitude, even though we do it pretty regularly. This is obviously to a whole new level.
Yeah. What is what does therapy look like? Are you still going? Is that over the phone? Is that Skype?
Yeah, yeah, it's over the phone. We stream in live with our therapist and talk about what we're going through. Figure out the feelings. For a while, I thought, I thought I was fine. Like I thought I was like, I'm like, yeah, I have a comfortable place to live. I have enough food. I have Rachel. I have these dogs. I can go outside. I'm fine. But I still had, like, every time I would listen to the news or and and future tripping and get too far past today or tomorrow, I would get this tightness in my chest, and I would actually get short of breath. And then the shortness of breath would make me think, oh, great, that's a symptom. Shortness of breath is a symptom. Do I have a fever? Do I have? And I would slowly start to spiral, and I realized I have all this underlying anxiety, that I'm very good at intellectualizing away. I'm very good at telling myself a comfortable story. I'm very good at uh, what my therapist calls spiritual bypass, where I lean into gratitude and to my faith to go around my anxiety or to go around my fear and to not face it and to not deal with it and to not process it. And what that leaves me with is a bunch of unprocessed anxiety and fear. And that's when I start having dreams about murdering people and like high action gun fights and like all these crazy anxiety dreams. And so it's good to just keep processing those things. Yeah.
Yeah, good, man. I think I touched
Yeah.
on it earlier, but I think there's a misconception that with so many things closed, counseling must be closed. And so we love to remind people that you can still
Right.
get help even in this time. Um,
Therapy will
so we
not
kind
be
of touched on,
canceled.
obviously, yeah, um, being mindful of how we're doing and taking care of ourselves and working to be healthy. And then I feel like you're
Yeah.
so good about wanting to be generous and wanting to think about. My parents have a dog.
No, we've got two dogs here too, and they will
My mom's,
eventually bark. It's
my
fine.
mom's, my mom's job is to keep the dogs quiet.
Come
This
on,
is
let's see
real
the
life,
dogs.
people.
Show everyone two dogs.
Okay.
Like this, we're all here to see puppies. Come on.
Wait, I don't even know. Okay. Oh no. All right, that's Grandma.
There we go. Hey,
Lady.
puppy.
Gracie. Stop.
Gracie.
Um, Gracie, stop. One thing I do love about these is it's real life. Like Miley Cyrus has 100 million followers and she's had trouble with her Wi-Fi. Like it's just kind of like everyone's just doing their best.
Yeah.
But the dogs are not doing their best. We're starting to ask you just about other people and what it looks like to be generous. There's a phrase that you use that I love that's just you want to be a service to others. And so I wanted to ask you about what does that look like for you in this time, and maybe how can other people join you in that in this time?
Yeah, Rachel and I have kind of taken a daily perspective of conserve where you can and serve where you can. Obviously, our movement is restricted. Obviously, we're in our homes, and so there's a certain level of conservation that's going to be required. And then the only thing that keeps us connected to the outside world is service, whether it's our friends, family, our neighbors. On either side of me, I have elderly neighbors who we check in with as regularly as we can to see if they need anything from the store, if they need any prescriptions filled, and just kind of seeing how they're doing. And then Rachel and I have tried to figure out what we can do from home. So we are like this coming Tuesday night, we are performing live on a show called Stars in the House. It's a show that is benefiting something called the Actors Fund, which is kind of misnamed, but it's through Actors Equity in New York, and it supports everyone in the entertainment and theater community. It's essentially an emergency fund, and anyone who's part of Actors Equity or in the theater community can apply to this fund for relief. Whether you work in the box office, or you're an usher, or you work in hair and makeup, or you're a costumer, choreographer. And so on Tuesday night, we're going to stream in live to Stars in the House. We're going to sing a song. Chrissy Metz is going to join and is going to sing a song with her quarantine buddy Donnie Barry, and then we've also got Mandy Moore is gonna stream in with her husband Taylor and play a song. So we figured out that like there's a way for us to help. There's a way for us to get funds to people who are just out of work for a while, and yeah, and obviously Cameo, the Cameo app has been really helpful.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Cameo, what you're doing there?
Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar, Cameo is an app where you can purchase custom greetings from celebrities, uh, and and I've lowered my price, and I've decided that every Cameo that I do from the beginning of this quarantine till the end, I'm going to donate 100% of my proceeds to people in need, whether that's people in my community, or it's the Actors Fund, or it's To Write Love on Her Arms, or whoever I think could use the money the most. We're going to make sure that those funds get there. You know, one of the like perfect examples. Backtrack. Let me Tarantino this a little bit. There's a great saying that says, "If you want world peace, go home and love your kids." So the change that you want to see starts in your house. It starts in your neighborhood. It starts in your community. So if we each take care of our community, take care of our home, take care of our friends and family and our neighbors, everyone will be covered. There's a woman in my community. She's in her 70s, and her only source of income is dog sitting, and she watches dogs all day long. Um, and she takes care of her husband, who has Parkinson's. And now everyone is home with their dogs, and she is completely out of work. So a few $100s here and there for anyone who can afford it uh, goes a long way for her. And so we helped her out a little bit. You know, there's ways to kind of keep people lifted up, and obviously we're very blessed right now with the means to do that. And so now, if you if you feel like helping and you're not sure how, buy a cameo from me, and I'll make sure the money gets to somebody who needs it.
Yeah. So I got a couple questions for Chris, but I want to invite you guys. We'll have time before he leaves us to get to a couple of your questions. So down, I think
Yeah.
it's right there. It's
Oh,
either in the
you
middle
mean
or the bottom, but there's a.
you mean right? Yeah, there's
You
one.
don't you worry. I'm talking to the other folks. Yeah, the question mark in the square. Tap on that, and we would love to get to a couple of your questions for Chris while we have them. And then I've got a couple to get us started, but obviously mental health shows up so much on This Is Us. It's been such a big part of Toby's storyline, and I wonder just, and I'm sure you've been asked this or some form of it a lot, but just kind of what you've learned or what that's been like over what's now been years of work for you. Because I know mental health, it's not just on the show. I know this has really, it's personal for you.
Yeah. Um, the one thing that I've learned about my own personal mental health is that joy shared is multiplied, and pain shared is cut in half.
Hmm.
The common idea here is connection. Connection with friends, family, therapists, people that you can share not only the good things with, but that you can share the quote unquote bad things. I need to come up with a better way to phrase this, because it's not, they're not bad things. The pain that we experience, it is usually through pain that we experience growth, and that we experience evolution, and
Hmm.
and so to say that my pain is, to label my pain bad or to label it negative, is not something that I do. Doesn't mean that it feels good. It doesn't mean that I enjoy it, but I am becoming more aware that if I am experiencing pain in a certain part of my life, that means that there's a part of my life that needs growth, that needs evolution, that needs change.
Hmm.
My pain is information. It's telling me something. Um, and so that's one of the things that I've learned from the show, from the writers, the stories that they've told us, um, and also from my own therapy, from my own experience. So everything belongs. Everything belongs.
Richard Rohr.
Richard Rohr, one of my, if you don't know him, last name Rohr, Richard Rohr, one of my favorites. And one of his great books is called Everything Belongs, and
Hmm.
that includes pain, and that includes, you know, in any of the great, you know, mythic, religious, spiritual traditions, there is someone experiencing tremendous growth through extreme pain, whether it's the crucifixion and the resurrection. The story is repeated around the globe for all of time. And so these moments, these global moments where we're all experiencing, some people are experiencing great, great pain. Some people are losing their lives. Some people are losing their livelihoods. Um, but a great amount of us are just being um, inconvenienced,
Yeah. Uncomfortable.
uncomfortable. And I think it's an excellent time to begin to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because we are being we are being informed that our comfort is not something that should be taken for granted. You can't just
Mm.
push a button and have it arrive at your house. You can't just, you know, let's pray to God the Wi-Fi doesn't go out. Like this moment. The things that are happening right now are an opportunity to reassess our priorities, and to reassess the things that are important to us, and to figure out what we need to change, what we need to adjust, what we need to
Mm.
shake up, and change our perspective a
Mm.
bit, because there's something to be learned here. And if we don't stop and sit down and be quiet for a second, we're not going to be able to hear what that lesson is.
Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff,
Yeah.
man. All right, I'm looking through a couple
Yeah.
questions from these good folks. We got a really tough one here.
What is your favorite episode of This Is Us? Episode 213. What if that was just it? What if I just I just
You're right.
left it?
Next question.
You know what? I think one of my favorite episodes, I think it was last season 3, where they did the trio of episodes, one for each of the siblings.
Mm.
Justin's episode hit me really hard.
Mm.
And I think Justin is one of the best actors working on television right now. And he is severely underrated and overlooked frequently in the quote unquote awards circuit,
Yeah.
because his work in that episode is mind bending for hour-long television. And yeah, it really hit home for me.
Yeah. I think for me, he was someone a character I didn't expect to like. And then I find myself, like, you see his humanity and
Yeah.
find myself caring about him
Yeah.
and rooting for him. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm seeing even in the comments people that agree with
Yeah.
you.
You must understand, for someone who's incredibly handsome, how frequently people underestimate you.
You sweet man. I saw another good one. All right, this is a harder one. Wait, did I go? Am I still on? Did I go
You've
black?
gone black, but I can still hear you, and I can read this question. How do I talk about my
Okay.
mental health with people who don't do mental health? Um, I
I
get,
got a thought.
yeah, please.
No, you
No,
go.
no, please tell me,
No,
yeah,
no, no. I was just gonna buy us some time, but if you got an answer.
buy me a little time, baby.
No, you go. You go.
Um, I guess what's the motivation for talking to them? Or if you're trying to get somebody else, if you're trying to convince somebody else to get therapy, or to change the way they're living, it's going to be very hard if you're just talking to them. What you
Hmm.
what you can what you can do is be a living example. If you are feeling good, um, if you are emanating good thoughts, good feelings, people are going to want to know why. and people are going to want to know how. Um, I think if you speak in using I language and not you language, then you're just sharing your experience with people. And if they don't want to hear it, then you should be talking to somebody else maybe.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to realize sometimes if it's a family member or a friend, but that's also okay.
Yeah.
Like mental health and other people's mental health can be scary, and not everyone has the tools to deal with it or to process it. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That was, yeah, I would echo that. We all hope to find a few people that are safe people that are willing and able to go there with us.
mhm,
I think when it comes to vulnerable things, or specifically mental health, and we can only ever be half of a relationship. I think what you're getting at is we can't control anyone. We can't control their ability
right,
to show up,
right,
or to get it. To me, it makes a great case for counseling, because my counselor is uniquely qualified to get it. She gets it more than I ever will. She has the wisdom and experience and perspective to guide me through the hardest parts of my life. And I think with anything, it's like I talk about basketball with my friends that care about basketball, and so as it relates to mental health, I think we have to find the people that are interested and able to go there with us. And it makes sense that there's going to be sadness or disappointment when we wish someone would understand or want to have those conversations, but whether it's now or always, we just find that person can't really go with
right,
us. But I think what we want to remind people is that you absolutely do deserve people that you can be honest with,
right,
and people who want to know. They don't just want to know the fun stuff or the good stuff, but people who we can all be real with.
right. It's one of those things where if it doesn't work the first time, try again. It's
Yeah.
well, I think, was it you that was saying, a lot of people, like, I tried therapy once. It wasn't for me, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like, was it you who made the dentist joke? It's like, you don't go to the dentist and if it hurts a little, you go, well, that's it. I'm done with dentists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, like you don't, if you have a bad experience with a plumber, you don't just give up on plumbing.
Yeah.
Like you probably, hopefully find a different
Yeah.
plumber or a different
Yeah.
dentist. And I think to me, yeah, we want to encourage people to keep trying.
Yeah.
Like if your first, if the first counselor you see is not a perfect fit, it's okay. And I think
Yeah.
someone good will even help you figure out that next step, help you find someone.
Yeah. And the same goes with friends. If there's a friend who can't show up for you in that way, that's okay. Like, everyone doesn't have to be everything to everyone.
Sure.
I certainly have friends that I can talk to about it, and certain friends that it's just easier not to, because we don't speak the
Yeah.
same language in that capacity.
Sure. So maybe we'll look for one more, if that's
Yeah,
cool. Sorry, Mark. Mark told me to find questions while you were talking.
no
I just
worries.
failed.
No worries.
Um,
But,
okay, I like this one. Do you guys suffer from imposter syndrome at all? If so, how do you deal with
I am an actor. It's all I deal with.
it?
It's 100% of my existence up until recently. I've started to deal with it a little bit better. I recently heard Al Pacino in an interview, and at the end of every movie Al Pacino does, he goes, "Well, that's the last movie I'll ever do." Like, every actor thinks that every job is their last job. Every actor thinks that every job they get, people are finally going to figure out that they're a fraud and that they have no idea what they're doing. Guess what? Nobody has any idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all have different levels of education in regards to the thing we are attempting to accomplish, but we are all making it up as we go. And once I became comfortable with that idea, and once I stopped identifying so closely with being being an actor. I am not an actor. I am an artistic person who once in a while expresses himself through the art of acting. Um, then I was able to find a little more self-worth in the person that I am, and in the relationships that I have, and in the hopefully the trail of positive uh, influence I leave behind me.
Yeah, that's a great question. My answer is yes, for sure. I mean, even today, just like, oh man, am I going to be a good host? Am I prepared? Is the Wi-Fi going to work? Are the dogs going to bark? It's just
Yeah,
like, and there's this, I saw something that Oprah shared, that the most common thing that happens at the end of every interview, and you think about who she's interviewed in her career, just the biggest names. She said, usually what happens is the person leans in and says, was that okay? And it's just, to me, this human thing, that no matter how famous a person,
right.
how successful, just really what you're asking is am I good enough?
Hmm.
Did I do a good job? And hopefully that's encouraging
Yeah,
to the person who asked this. I just think, um, I also think, like, man, it's important to share that, because that's how we connect and we relate, uh, is through our vulnerability, is through the moments when we admit we don't have it all together. We're still figuring it out. I tell people a lot, like, to write Love's origin story. I didn't grow up wanting to work in mental health or
yeah,
start a nonprofit. All of this came as a surprise and really happened by accident. And so I've dealt with imposter syndrome
yeah,
all along.
yeah.
Um,
I'll tell a little anecdote before I go, if that's all right.
yeah, absolutely.
So for the 165 people watching, I've never told anybody this. So scoop, exclusive, Instagram live. I've told a story on on a podcast once, kind of vaguely. There was a performance that I gave on This Is Us that was really, really intense. And I knew it was coming, and I got really prepared for it. And on the day that I had to give that performance, I came home to Rachel and I was like, I didn't have it. I did not have it. I think I did fine. Like, I think I acted like I had it, but I didn't feel it. I wanted to feel it. It wasn't there. I'm disappointed in myself. I, and who knows how it's going to turn out. And when I saw the performance, I was like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. People probably don't notice, but it's not that. That's not it. That's faking. That is faking. That scene and that episode of television is what I was nominated for an Emmy for.
Wow.
That day, the lesson that I had to learn about my perspective will never be 100% accurate on myself. So I need to factor into that equation a little bit of compassion and a little bit of
Yeah.
understanding, because it's just impossible for me to view me, which is why I
Yeah.
need friends, which is why I need you, Jamie, which is why I need my therapist, for to have people in my life who I love and respect, who can accurately reflect back to me how I'm doing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Dude, that is an amazing
It's
story. I can't
it's
believe you haven't.
it's well, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And it feels, you know, yeah, it's just embarrassing to admit that sometimes I don't feel like I'm good at my job. And then
Yeah.
to be so far off on my understanding of what's happening that I get nominated for an award for it.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Dude, that's amazing. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Um, and as always, man, thank you for your
Yeah.
incredible support of the organization. Thank you for
Oh,
being my friend. Thank you for wanting to be here today.
oh, I love you so much. Don't be so serious. It's okay if the dogs bark.
Oh, my mom took them outside. Your dogs are so good,
There,
man.
Rachel took them downstairs before they had the chance. Yeah.
Okay. Well, man, hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. But thank you
Yeah.
for everything you're doing. So hey, if people want to check out your performance on Tuesday, how do they do that?
Just Google Stars in the House. It's a Broadway streaming show. They got a lot of crazy, amazing guests. And I think you can go back and stream all of them. They had Tina Fey and all these amazing people. But I'm going to watch the rest of this live stream, and then I'll go live on my account for a little bit to answer any questions
Awesome.
that I missed going in the feed here. So everybody stay here because I cannot wait to hear from your next guest.
All
And
right,
I'll
man.
talk to you
Well,
after.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
All
Chris.
right.
See ya.
Bye.